Aloha gang, how are y'all doing? Happy Aloha Friday. Not necessarily a happy Aloha Friday. Today has been kind of nuts here um in the whole state today. One of the first things I woke up to this morning, well actually, yeah, we had the Big Island had a 5.7 earthquake, which was literally, I've actually heard from some people all the way on Kauai who felt it, but it was pretty a lot of movement considering that this was on the Big Island in the Pahala area. And I live on Oahu and we felt it. I had friends here on Oahu who actually heard it. So that started a crazy day. About an hour after that, the story I'm going to talk about broke. And guys, we've been talking the last few days about Ariel's case, about how we're hoping we can get her records, some of her records unsealed on the 21st, so that we can start looking at what is happening in these cases. Because we are losing too many of our children, too many of our keiki. We are losing. And we have a responsibility as the adults to see what's going on and to make changes. Like I said on Wednesday, it's not about finding faults, okay, in people. It's about finding where a system is falling apart and making the changes so it doesn't keep failing. This morning, I see that there's a press conference getting ready to happen within the next couple minutes. It was at the time saying that a 10-year-old had been found dead a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And after investigations, her guardians, her foster mother, father, guardian mother, father, and grandmother had been arrested for second-degree murder in her death. Um, we're going to go over the actual, yes, please. Thank you, Crystal. And I'm sorry I haven't said hi yet, but I want to get this out real quick. And then I am going to go back and say hi to everyone. As things started, they started talking during the press conference and telling us everything that is going on in this case. All I could see was what felt like a repeat of Ariel's case. Red flags keep repeating. A child pulled out of school. Okay, people, I have a funny feeling we're going to find out very soon here that many people were reporting issues here. Okay, I suspect we are going to find out that people were like, oh, whoa, 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 there's injuries going on here that need to be looked at. There's this, because I mean, the injuries this little one had, this 10-year-old Keiki had, should have been being looked into. Okay, a 4-year-old, okay, adopted sibling, also showing signs and symptoms of abuse. Okay, there is too much going on in this, and we need to find where the failures are. It's not about finding failures in people. Yes, the criminals are the criminals and they are at fault. But the systems are where we can find corrections and we can figure out what we can do so that this list that no child, no keiki should ever be on is closed down. And no one ever has to report one more time of another child who is killed by the people who are supposed to be protecting them. That list is done. Okay, it should not be the thing, well, things slip through the cracks. No, things shouldn't slip through the cracks, especially when it's as blatant as many of these cases are hearing. So I want to go through this today, and I did just get my hands on, the reason why I was a few minutes late is I got my hands on the complaint, and I'm trying to figure out right now whether we're going to go over the complaint today in partial or in depth or what. I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things. You guys know how I feel about facts being important. Well, with the complaint coming, the facts are coming, and that makes a big difference for us. So, but some real quick thanks. First of all, Cristola, thank you for the trigger warning. Seal, thank you for your help. and some hi there, hey there's. Okay. Like I said from the beginning, when is enough enough? I got a bunch of you guys in chat already right now. Take a second, because whether these children are part of the system or they're just part of society, there's red flags. They're being failed. Someone has seen something and may not have spoken up or whatever. So jump into chat for a second. Jump into the comment section. Say the name of one child that you feel was failed by the system or by the community at large. Because even among the lists that I put on the thumbnail today, okay, at least one of those were not a system thing. But family and friends said the failure was still there because people were seeing things but not reporting it. So take a second, type in your names. We know so many children, okay? We know Ariel. We know, okay, the list is nuts. So type them in chat. Say their name. Don't let people forget their names. And their deaths have to mean something. Something good has to come out of these. So, in the bushes, hey, 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 my dear, how you doing? And there's BC. Hello, hello, BC. Red Rock. My heart is breaking. Yeah, this one really, I mean, I kept expecting it was just going to be the normals. And what really got me with this is how much of this just throws me back to Ariel. Throws me right back to Ariel as if we're still there. The name just changed. Cristola, love you, my dear, and thanks for keeping everyone in the loop. Thank you so much. Our dear, dear Red Rock. Black Wolf, welcome, 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 Black Wolf. And Seal is here. This is a very hard one to hear. And this is happening as we are speaking. Everything is, I mean, the 3 people who were arrested in this case are spending their first night in jail today. Tonight. It's 4/12. They're getting ready to have their first dinner behind prison walls. And Click and Go Books. How you doing, my dear? And I hope you're doing good. Let's see. Butterfly Kisses. Love you, my dear. No worries about being late. Yep, here's the names. Summer, Gannon, Ariel, Oakley, Geanna. And you know what? Each of them need to have their names said over and over, louder and louder until changes occur. So let's start this. What we're going to do is this, gang. There was a press conference that where a lot of the information before that, all we knew is that 3 people had been arrested for the murder of a 10-year-old. That's all we knew at the time. Once we finished this, 17-minute press conference, we had a lot more information. I had actually prepared for after that with 2.5 pages worth of notes, so we could have gone through everything that I knew about. Now that we have the complaint, I have a hell of a lot more information, and I'm not sure how much of this we will discuss today versus we will start and then we'll come back and do a follow-up. I'm not sure. We'll just see how everyone's feeling because this is a lot of information and it's a lot of hard information here. And so we'll just see how things go. Click and go. I'm a firm believer in people care. People want to do that because as a nursing home administrator, that's all I ever wanted was to make sure my residents were taken care of and loved and felt special and stuff like that. And I know even in the system, that's what people want. But there are cases where the system fails, even in a facility. Okay, you're always, every minute of the day, you're looking for how can I improve my program. That's why quality assurance is so important. That's what we need to be doing about the system right now is how can we look at what has happened and make the changes that need to happen to ensure it doesn't happen again. That's all it is. So I'm gonna bring this up, guys. The volume is very low on this, and unfortunately, closed captioning is not available yet. So, um, let me know if it's way too low. Okay, if not, I mean, we can go through some other things later also and figure out. Like I said, we're gonna go through, instead of all these notes here, we are gonna go through, okay, at least a pretty good chunk of the complaint. Thank you, Sue. And so yeah, and that's it, Butterfly. There's some amazing, amazing not-for-profits out there. Okay, and even for-profits out there where their heart is in the right place and they're looking at QA as QA rather than as the biggest problem with QA that I've always found is some people are scared of quality assurance, okay, because it also comes with that feeling of failure or blame. And you have to push beyond that to realize it's not about failure or blame. Shit does happen. Okay. Humankind is humankind. There's evil people in the world. And but we have this ability to learn from it also. And that's what QA comes down to. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and start this. And then once we're done, we will go through everything. I'll pull it up so we can all share, okay, a big portion of at least one of the complaints. There are three defendants in this case. I did pay for one of the complaints, so we can go through that at this point. So, but let me pull this up. Let me know how your volume is. Let me know. And if it becomes a problem, we'll just move straight over to the complaint. So here we go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Geanna Bradly. I'm the lieutenant with the Honolulu Police Department's homicide.
Let me know if you guys are hearing that.
I'm here to announce the arrest of 3 individuals in the murder of 10-year-old Geanna Bradly. This case was initially classified as an unattended death. Based on further investigation, additional testing, medical information, and records, this case was reclassified to second-degree murder. I will be presenting some of the information that can be shared at this time. Please know that some of this information will.
Hey guys, yeah, this is the problem I was running into even when I listened to it the first time. I even have my computer up more, and it's been really hard to hear. I got YouTube at the full right now, and I wasn't able to find another copy of this. So I'm not going to talk much during it so that I don't blow out your ears when I do. And if I do, I'll start by talking really soft. So you might need to bump up your volume just a little bit. So I'm sorry about that. I wish it was louder, but it definitely is not. Thank you, gang.
Will be disturbing and graphic. On the morning of Thursday, January 18th, District 2 patrol officers responded to a home on Carson Drive in Wahiawa. The call was for a co-response with emergency medical services and the Honolulu Fire Department, stating that a defibrillator was needed for a 10-year-old female. When officers arrived, they were informed that the child had been found cold and stiff. At the time, officers observed that she had significant injuries and bruising on her body and appeared emaciated. This child was identified by family members as Geanna Bradly. The responding officers met with Brandy Blass, who identified herself as Geanna's mother, and Deborah Duran, who identified herself as Geanna's grandmother. They told officers that they last saw Geanna at approximately 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the night before, when she went into her bedroom after eating dinner. Deborah, Geanna's grandmother, told officers that she found Geanna when she went to wake her for breakfast, and that Geanna's body was cold, her mouth open, there was no chest movement, and no detectable heartbeat. At this time, the grandmother said that she administered CPR and called 911. Geanna was pronounced dead at the scene, and an unattended death report was made that morning. Homicide detectives were called to the home after responding officers noted that Geanna had multiple facial injuries, including multiple scratch-like marks around her ears, eyes, forehead, cheeks, and lips. Her eyelids appeared slightly bruised, and there were road rash type injuries to her chin. Part of her nose bridge was missing. Detectives were told that 4 adults and 6 children lived at the home at 33 Carston Drive. The adults were Gianna's grandparents, including Deborah, Gianna's parents, Brandy and Thomas Bloss. The children are Bloss's 4 biological children, ages 14, 10, 5, and 3. The Blosses are also the legal guardians for Gianna and the adoptive parents of another 4-year-old son.
Okay, just gonna stop it there real quickly. Yeah, gang, there were a number of children in here. They have their own biological children, and then they have a 4-year-old that they adopted, as you just heard, and then Gianna, the 10-year-old. Gianna was not actually adopted. She was still more under the foster side. They were legal guardians, but had not adopted her. I can tell you right now, all of the children have been pulled out of the house. As for abuse, it looks like you're going to hear a little bit more about this in a second, but it looks like Gianna and the 4-year-old were the two who suffered the abuse. The biological children did not. And please, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, they've had her since she was 2 years old. 2 years old. She's 10. She's been there for 8 years. Okay. Do they get money for adopted kids? I need to re-verify that. I think so. I think I read something recently, but I needed to recheck that to make sure that was still true. But as of a few years ago, in fact, I just saw this the other day. I actually saw some numbers that went along with things. One thing I did want to share with you guys real quickly, and then we'll go back to that, is in case people are wondering, this is where, okay, all of this happened. 33 Carston Drive, which is, oh shoot, I should have left that right there. Let me pull that so at least okay, it stays there. So for those of you who, Hawaii, y'all know Hawaii and what it looks like and all. So here's the big island down here. Here's where Honolulu is. Down here, Pearl Harbor is where you get all these little locks. Okay, they are right up here in an area known as Wahiwa. Okay, so this is where the house actually is. And so just to give you an idea as we're going through this of the area we're looking at. And so let me come back and yeah, most foster definitely get money. They do. Okay, that I wanted to verify because I knew, and I have the actual numbers. I'd have to pull them out, but I did have the numbers as of 2 years ago on how much they would get for each child. It's based off of age, number one, and then special needs, number two. And if I can figure out where I put that, or if I did a screenshot, I'll be able to share that with you guys. Thanks, Sleuth, for verifying that. Exactly, Bronx. Okay, how can anyone do this to an innocent child? Okay, and grandmother. Okay, in Hawaii, we use the word hanai. Okay, hanai, and this was, even though, okay, this is auntie. Okay, this was her grandma since she was 2 years old. Okay, her mom and her dad and her grandma since she was 2 years old. It's just, it makes no sense. And maybe it's a good thing that we can't understand this. Maybe it's a good thing that it makes no sense to me. You got it. There's going to be a lot of break, okay, down every now and then so we can go over any questions that you guys have. But I did want to share that one bit with you. So let me bring the news conference back for y'all. There we go. Okay, here we go. Again, it's soft, so use earbuds or just increase your volume.
Gianna's grandmother and parents, Deborah and Brandy and Thomas, told detectives that Gianna's nose injury was caused by falling off a bicycle 2 weeks prior. They said that they did not seek medical attention because Gianna did not complain of pain. The three further stated that Gianna had been diagnosed as having ADHD and was possibly suffering from schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. They said that Gianna had been prescribed a medication for her conditions and usually saw a psychologist once a month. They further stated that Gianna would have daily tantrums during which she would throw herself onto the ground and injure herself. On January 19th, an autopsy was conducted by the Honolulu Medical Examiner's Office. The initial cause and manner of death was deferred pending further testing and a review of medical records. Homicide detectives continue to investigate, conducting additional interviews and searching cell phone records. Deborah, Brandy, and Thomas reported that while Gianna suffered from behavior issues, she was very active and slept, ate, and played with the other children. They said that she was treated well as the other children. As investigation continued, detectives from the Homicide Detail and Strategic Enforcement Detail observed that the Bloss's 4-year-old adoptive son was very thin and had injuries to both of his arms. HPD notified the Child Welfare Services, and the 5 remaining children were removed from the home as CWS opened its own investigation. As part of the HPD investigation, in concurrence with the Medical Examiner's Office, a board-certified child abuse pediatrician was consulted. The pediatrician noted that Gianna's physical appearance at the time of death was consistent with medical neglect, physical neglect, and chronic physical abuse, as well as features seen in fatal starvation. That the multitude of injuries, bruises, and scars, as well as their location and pattern, are not expected in accidental trauma and are very likely from repeated abusive trauma. The pediatrician's findings also noted that the wound to Gianna's nasal bridge was very deep, and that along with injury to her 2 front teeth and upper lip, and a multitude of scars around her mouth and face were indications of trauma with significant enough force to break teeth. Additional consultation from the board-certified child abuse pediatrician for the Bloss's 4-year-old adoptive son determined that he was suffering from failure to thrive, very likely due to calorie and psychosocial deprivation. That he suffered from physical abuse as indicated by multiple bruises and scars consistent with such abuse. It was also noted that he suffered from medical neglect. Data from the adult cell phones were recovered and examined by the HPD Cybercrimes and Strategic Enforcement Detail detectives. These included disturbing images of a child who appears to be Gianna, enclosed in a small area and bound with duct tape. The child's arms are taped to her torso, and there is duct tape wrapped around her eyes, forehead, and over the top of her head. Some images show what look like injuries to her lower face and shoulders. An image believed to be of the Bloss's adoptive son shows him strapped in a car seat. His eyes are closed, and there appears to be vomit all over his face. The cell phones also contained videos of violent interactions between the Blosses and Gianna on multiple occasions, as recent as January 16th, 2 days before her pronouncement of death. In the videos, Gianna is bound with duct tape, and her eyes are covered and wrapped with duct tape and electrical tape. She is filmed in the same small enclosed area, which brings us to yesterday. On February 8th, after extensive testing.
Guys, I just got to pause that for a second. As I said to someone else before, taking pictures like that, they thought this stuff was normal. It was completely normal to treat a child this way. And the tape throws me back to Ariel completely. Almost to the point where, okay, in fact, one of you mentioned to me, it's almost like they read what was done to Ariel. It's like, oh, that sounds like an idea. Let's try that. It's just sickening. It's sickening. Bronx, thank you. Thank you, my dear. And guys, this one's been really rough all day to follow up. So take care of yourself. You start finding yourself triggering or having problems with this, please put your health and your mental health first. Okay? Come back, share so that we can keep this in the news because, gang, we're trying to make some changes right now. We're trying to at least, okay, I can't deal with other states, but I can say something here in Hawaii. Okay, and things got to change. And on the 21st, we're going to we're saying, hey, unseal some of these documents so we can get things to change. And why do that to a small child, a 10-year-old? And if with the malnutrition, even tinier. And they were starving her and her 4-year-old, okay, sibling. And I'm going to call them siblings, whether they were or not. Okay, they've lived together for quite a while. And so I had to say that because with it's very triggering what you're hearing. And but think about living it. We just hear it. She lived it. Her sibling, the 4-year-old, lived it. And her Hanai sibling, her adopted sibling. Here we go.
Testing and review of medical records and investigative findings. The forensic pathologist determined the cause of Geanna's death to be the result of multiple effects of prolonged child abuse and neglect. Additionally, the cause of death is the result of starvation, blunt force injury due to assault, prolonged immobilization and physical restraint, medical neglect, and pneumonia. The manner of death was homicide. Based on the autopsy report, Geanna's death was reclassified to murder in the second degree. This morning, shortly after 6:00 a.m., with the assistance of the District 2 Crime Reduction Unit, Geanna's parents and grandmother, Brandy and Thomas Blas, and Deborah Duran, was arrested for murder in the second degree, kidnapping, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment in the first degree, and conspiracy to commit unlawful imprisonment in the first degree. Brandy and Deborah were also arrested for hindering prosecution in the first degree, and Brandy and Thomas was also arrested for endangering the welfare of a minor in the first degree. Detectives of the Homicide Detail and Strategic Enforcement Detail conducted and led this intensive 3-week investigation. We worked alongside the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney's Domestic Violence Division Chief Tiffany Kael
3 weeks.
and their Captain Erica Candelario. They have worked alongside us and were instrumental during the investigative process to charge all 3 suspects. During the course of the investigation, we requested and received assistance from numerous divisions within the Honolulu Police Department, including the Scientific Investigative Section, Trace Unit, Crime Scene Unit, and the DNA Unit, the Cyber Crimes Unit, Crime Analysis Unit, Specialized Services Division K-9 Unit, and the District 2 Crime Reduction Unit. We want to recognize the Emergency Medical Services, Honolulu Fire Department, and the Department of the Medical Examiner's Office. Along with the Honolulu Police Department, these agencies have always put Geanna first. On behalf of the HPD CID, Homicide and Strategic Enforcement Detail, I want to thank everyone for their assistance. Their cooperative efforts from everyone involved brought us to where we are today. Please keep in mind the investigation is ongoing, and some information may not be released at this time as it may hurt the integrity of the investigation.
I'm going to keep this going
can
because
answer
there's a
some
little
questions.
bit more information
Do
coming
you
up.
know how long Geanna was in the custody of the Blosses?
Since they had her for 8 years, so approximately when she was 2 or 3.
Do you know how long?
No. Now, I don't know. Like I said, I just got my hands on the actual complaint, and it is Brandy's complaint. I did not buy all 3 complaints yet because this was literally happening right as I was getting ready to go live. So I'm wondering what the kidnapping charges are for. Is it because they had her taped and all, okay, on an enclosed lanai? I don't know. That seal is another concern I have. And you know what? We can't jump. We don't know the full facts yet. It's very possible that the reason why Geanna was not adopted is maybe she was not open for adoption. Maybe a parent, biological parent, is still in the picture, even if they don't have custody or even being able to see or anything. Maybe that's not open yet. Parental rights may not be completely severed yet. That's possible. But on the other hand, maybe they are. And then why is it they chose to adopt the 4-year-old and not Geanna? That says something too. Yeah, Sleuth Mom is very, and you guys know me, I kind of know things or think I remember it, but if I can't remember exactly, I'll be like, I don't. think so or I think so, but that's just me. But Sleuth is also, because of Ariel's case, she's really into this also. Um, so yeah, uh, they should not be allowed to be pulled out of school. That's something that's coming out of this. Another red flag again. And I did notice in looking at the complaints, there is something addressing school and COVID. And when they pulled her out, but I honestly feel that, you know what? I think homeschooling has wonderful pluses, but it's also unfortunately being used to hide abuses also. So again, this is one of those cases. It's not looking for okay faults in that portion, but it's how can we provide a little extra security for a child that is not going to school where someone who is a mandated reporter can be reporting things. So, okay, let's go back. And like I said, I'm keeping this going because actually one of the police officers does speak at the end also.
The abuse had been going on.
That's part of the investigation right now. Anybody have anything?
The adopted 4-year-old, how long did they have him?
That, I believe they had him when he was about 18 months, but that's still under investigation. I don't have the exact date, but it was when he was young.
You said she was held in a small area. Was it in an enclosure? Was she in a cage, a box, a room?
Our investigation determined, and it was in an enclosed porch area.
She was kept in a porch area.
Yeah.
Was she allowed, did she go to school? I mean, did,
The last that we know that she was taken out of school in October of 2022.
2022?
Yes.
To clarify, there were 4 biological kids and 2 adopted,
One is adopted. They were legal guardians over Geanna.
and then 4 biological kids.
Yes.
Did anyone report this to Child Welfare Services or the adoption agency that provided these 2 kids to these people? I mean, did anyone report either Gianna or the 4-year-old to them?
I would defer it to them.
And they're not gonna tell us, so, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I got it, thank you.
Not sure if you guys caught that little comment there. That shows the trust people in that office have in the system. Because literally, when when the spokesman for HPD says, you know what, I'd rather refer that over to them, the question about whether or not there'd been any complaints to Child and Family Services or anything about anything going on in that family. And she says, yeah, let's just leave that to them. I'm going to go back to it. Listen to what he says as an extra comment right afterwards.
Provided these 2 kids to these people? I mean, did
Right at the
anyone
end of her
report
comment.
Either Gianna or the 4-year-old?
I took it a little far back.
I would defer it to them.
And they're not gonna tell us, so, okay, all right.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell us, so all right. When you've got journalists who are saying immediately, oh, well, forget that. They're not going to tell us. That says something there. And that's the reason why we need to take a look at things. This is happening too often. And I just caught that in listening back to this.
What about the other 4 kids in the house? Like, where are they now, and did they show signs of abuse?
CWS took custody of them.
Shift.
The other 4 biological children did not show signs of abuse.
So were these foster kids or adopted kids or?
The 4-year-old was an adopted. I don't have the exact date of when that happened. Gianna, they were legal guardians for her.
Legal guardians?
Yes.
And who was the 4th adult in the house?
That was Deborah's husband.
Who was not charged on anything.
Okay. Chief.
Now we got police chief.
Well, I'd like to just say that, I'd like to applaud all the elements of Honolulu Police Department that worked steadfastly in further investigating what appeared to be, I reported as an unattended death. But their steadfastness of hanging in, investigating, looking at the facts, and then meeting with elements of the city and the state to go through other factors, turned out the results that we have today. So just our homicide detail is doing a fantastic job at investigating unfortunate crimes of this nature and bringing to justice for those affected individuals in the results that we have. So with that, I'd also like to say that, If there's anyone else out there in the public that you see members of the community, that maybe the children out there are not well cared for or in a manner that you think is appropriate, please either call Crime Stoppers and report it anonymously, or if you can call 911 and report it to the Honolulu Police Department, and we can further investigate those.
That
With
goes
that,
for
thank you,
everyone
and I'll take any
everywhere.
questions that you might have.
Chief, cases like this usually seem to take a little bit longer than this. This happened in about a 3-week period. Why was this expedited? How come?
We talk about Ariel here.
I think the elements of the crime and the due diligence of homicide and their activities were able to uncover information rather quickly and move the investigation along. Eerily similar to several years ago of the Kalua case in Waimanalo. That one took a little bit longer because, one, we haven't found the little girl. It's never been found yet. And so that makes it a little more difficult in the investigation process. So that one takes a little bit more time than this one.
As a father yourself, how does it feel to hear about a case similar to the Kalua case?
It's horrifying that this would happen to a 10-year-old or any child, whether biological or adopted or legal guardian. This is not what we expect our keiki to go through. This is not what we want. This is not what we want our communities to raise children as. And so that's why I'm asking the community for your help. If you can see, or if you see any of this out there, to please call either 911 or
Yeah.
Crime Stoppers and provide information.
In the Kalua case, some of the older children in the house were the ones that were tasked with sort of feeding Isabella, according to the investigation and information that HPD has released. Have you found that there are similarities in this instance with the other older children in the house?
I don't have that information, but I can ask further once they continue the investigation to find that out.
What are some signs that the public should be looking out for, since you're asking them to be on the lookout for any?
You know, if the children out there look malnutrition, and they look like they should be, instead of 20 pounds at 8 years old, or if they weigh 20 pounds at 8 years old and they should be 30, 40, 50 pounds, that kind of thing. You know, if somebody just, one, you haven't seen them in a while,
Great
maybe
question.
they were there 2 years ago, and they say, well, I gave them away or I sent them away, but where is that child? If you're in legal custody, where is that child today? And if you haven't seen it in the community for quite a while, and you don't really understand the story or the background of what the family is giving, then I would ask you to call us and let us further investigate.
Chief, where's this family from? Are they local family, military? I mean, have they lived in Hawaii a long time?
I believe they're a local family. I don't believe they're military.
Do you have any thoughts on how this was able to go on for so long undetected?
You know, I really would like to understand
I think we'd all like
what
to know
goes on in
that.
people's minds that would commit this kind of thing to children that really can't defend themselves. It's beyond me. With that, thank you very much.
And True Crystal, I think he had his weights a little off there. He got a little nervous, but you know what, gang? No, you didn't mishear it. He was getting confused with those things. But I got to say this, and I'm gonna pull up the complaint right now, and we can start going through at least some of this. Okay, the main parts that lead up to the arrests. But HPD has been working their butt off on this case. This 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And it's sad that they're having to take the step of telling the community what to look for, when in reality, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say this. There are other agencies who should be coming out and telling everyone, hey, you know what, this is a concern that we have. If you see things, if a child goes missing for a while, if food, things like that, report it. Where's that agency? That's what I'd like to know. So I'm going to pull this up. Like I said, I actually had 3 pages of notes to go over, but my suspicion is this complaint, which I have not even read, gang. Okay, I've read little bits and pieces of it. I guarantee you this has a lot more information on it than what, okay, I have gotten up to now. It's literally 137 pages long, as you can see here. Now, as I mentioned, there's 3 people who were arrested in this case. I so far have only bought one of the complaints. My suspicion is the three of them are probably pretty much identical. Um, and I did have to pay for them. So of course, okay, I started here. Plus, they just got released as I was getting ready to go live. So click and go. You've called CPS on behalf of a child. And thank you. First of all, thank you for doing that. Okay, I used to say that in nursing homes. You know what? Report possible abuse. Don't worry. So many people are so scared if I report something and I'm wrong. Well, you know what? What if you're not wrong? And you know what? We should be able to trust the investigating agencies to do a good job. Now, that's maybe a loaded comment there, but yeah. So let's go through here. Thanks, Christola. And what's weird is that none of them have had past charges. Yes, Seal. We're seeing some financial things. Seal has been helping out today big time. And yeah, no, the tip one is not working. It's not working. Actually, just joining our membership. I do have, if you go to my about page, if you'd like to send anything, I usually don't even say this, but if you want to send anything through PayPal, Venmo, things like that. Okay, I always am willing to take that. The thing about offering I think there's a comment somewhere in here about getting me an iced tea. That's where you can help me out with those type things. I usually don't talk about that, but if anyone would like, I definitely would welcome it because it'll help us in getting information. Plus, honestly, right now we've got a lot coming up because we need to make sure Ariel's case, okay, is heard and we can start making some changes so we don't hear red flags again and the same exact things again. So let's go back to this now. So I'm going to take this down. So anyhow, this all happened today. Okay. It was subscribed to, okay, the prosecuting attorney and all this was done yesterday. The three of them were actually arrested. I'm going to take these out so I don't have to listen to my own voice. The three of them were actually arrested on this morning at 6 a.m. So like I said, they're getting ready to have their first dinner behind bars and all. So let me do this and so I can read this plus see the comments that you guys are popping up with. Okay, so I'm going to take this down here real quickly. As you can see here, this is the complaint against Brandy. And if you got comments throughout this, let me know so we can definitely discuss the ideas. So the affidavit, this way, okay, Detective Justin Higa, okay, came through letting us, he's been researching all this. Okay, you guys know the normal stuff here. Let me go through. Okay, here we go. On January 18th, the affiant was assigned to further investigate what was originally classed as an unattended death. Okay, 911 call was made that morning. Okay, when they came across Geanna without a heartbeat. She was cold. Okay, she was stiff at that time. Again, trigger warning for everyone here. On January 18th, about 8:21 a.m., HPD Officer Wendell Coe was sent to 33 Karsten Drive in Wahiawa on a co-response with emergency medical services for a defibrillator needed for a 10-year-old female. Anytime you're told you need a defibrillator for a 10-year-old, that tells you something big time. The 10-year-old was subsequently identified as Geanna Bradly. Upon his arrival, he met with Captain B. Ricard from Fire Department and EMS paramedic Meneses, who informed him that they had administered CPR to no avail. I have read something that Grandma tried CPR also while waiting. HFD, Fire Department, moved the child from the bedroom into the living room for space and continued CPR, but was unsuccessful for their efforts. Meneses informed Officer Coe that when they arrived on the scene, Geanna was cold and stiff, and that she had significant injuries and bruising on her body. Meneses also informed Officer Coe that Gianna's mother and grandmother informed her that she had psychological issues. Menezes further stated that she found a significant wound on her nose area, that, quote, half of Gianna's nose was gone, and that no one had taken her to the doctor for those injuries. Officer Coe met with Brandy Kanani Bloss, who identified herself as the legal guardian of Gianna, and Thomas Bloss, husband, retained legal guardianship of Gianna about 8 years ago when she was about 2 years old. What were they doing to this little one? Exactly, Sloop. It's sickening what I'm reading, and then for them to blame her. And I have more information here, but I suspect it's going to pop up in this, so I'm not going to share that until we get to it. They stated that she had behavior problems since they took guardianship over her. And we're going to hear later that those behavior issues are behind her being pulled out of school and all sorts of stuff. According to Brandy, her oldest daughter, her biological daughter, sleeps on the top bunk bed and was awake when Brandy entered and exited the room at 6 a.m. this morning. Brandy's mother, Deborah, then went to check on Gianna and noticed she wasn't breathing. But Brandy stated she was not sure and that they would have to check with Deborah, who is with Gianna more often. Okay. Officer Coe, how many years she suffered. And that's the thing. When did all this start? That's what scares me. Officer Coe spoke with Deborah, who stated that on January 17th at about 7:30, they went to the bedroom. Okay, Gianna went to her bedroom to sleep after eating dinner. Now we're going to hear over and over that this little one also died from not eating enough, too. That played a part here. So the fact they're saying that she went to sleep after eating dinner, they're already making some comments here with this. On January 18th, around 6:30 in the morning, Deborah went into Gianna's bedroom to wake her up for breakfast, about 6:30. Upon touching Gianna, Deborah noticed that her skin was cold to the touch. Her mouth was open, her chest was not moving, and she could not feel a heartbeat. She then began CPR, but it did not appear to be working. She then called 911. Click and go, Stiff. Sounds like rigor mortis already set in. Yeah. Whatever happened overnight, most likely. Hi, Cooter. Love you, my dear. Warning, trigger warning for everyone with this, because I think we're going to be hearing some pretty bad things during this case. Officer Coe inspected Gianna's body and noticed that she had injuries to her nose, including a piece of the bridge above her nose missing, multiple scratch-like marks around her ears, top of her eyes, top of her forehead, around her ears, eyes, top of her forehead, cheeks, and around the left side of her lip area. Above and below the eyelids appeared to be slightly bruised, and her chin appeared to have road rash type injury. Gianna's death was pronounced at the scene by Dr. Michael Dung at approximately 8:54 a.m. Okay. Officer Coe, though, because of what they were seeing, guys, they started the investigation immediately. Yes, initially it was classified as an unattended death, but they knew something was up from the get-go. And as we now know, it was reclassified as murder later on. Officer Coe notified his supervisor, who notified CID. On January 18th at about 10:38, Detective Higa and Detective Gerald Kaholokula responded to the scene with the Scientific Investigations Section. Evidence Specialist Breedy Farley. Upon arriving at the screen, sounds like she either dragged or pushed down. And of course, I'm sure they're going to address this here. Her guardians said she had mental health issues and would throw temper tantrums daily. And part of that temper tantrum included throwing herself on the ground. So that's how they tried to talk themselves out of this. Upon arriving on the scene, evidence specialist was instructed to document the scene and photograph Geanna, who had numerous abrasions and open sores all over her body. Geanna also had a large avulsion to the bridge of her nose. Avulsion is an opened area, okay, over the bridge of her nose. So avulsion, if you've ever seen someone who's gotten a bad gash where the skin is kind of really opened up and peeled back, that's what we're talking about. She looked very thin to the point where her rib cage and clavicle bones were very pronounced. Around 12:22 that day, Detective Higa interviewed Deborah at the Wahiawa Police Station, who stated that she resides at 33 Karsten Drive with her husband, her daughter, Brandy, her son-in-law, Thomas, and her 6 minor grandchildren. Again, this is grandma talking. There's 6 kids in this house. 4 are her biological grandchildren. 1 is Geanna, and 1 is an adopted, sibling, little 4-year-old boy. Deborah stated Geanna has lived with them since she was about 3 years old, and that about 1 to 2 weeks ago, Geanna had told her that she had fallen off her bicycle. Deborah is not sure if the incident happened at their residence or at Wahiawa Park. Which, by the way, I gotta say this now rather than wait. They did not take her to the hospital after that fall where she literally breaks teeth, hurts up here and all that. And the reason why they don't take her to the doctor is they're like, well, she wasn't complaining about it hurting or anything like that. Deborah stated, on January 18th between 6:45 a.m. and 7:15 a.m., Deborah stated she went into Geanna's bedroom to wake her up and found her snoring. But the other minor child in the room was already awake. Are they saying Geanna was snoring and yet pretty soon after that, when they find her not responsive, they're saying she's stiff? Yeah, okay. About half an hour to an hour later, Deborah went back to the bedroom and checked in on Geanna. Geanna was still making noises, but looked unusual. Deborah tried to wake Geanna up, but Geanna was not responding. Deborah then called out for Brandy for assistance, put Geanna on the ground, and began CPR. Sorry, gang. Yes, I understand people might have confusions there, but they're saying 6:45 to 7:15. She was snoring and all that stuff. Okay, a half hour to an hour later, 30 to 60 minutes later, they go back in. She's still making noises, but looks unusual. But you pull her off the bed and do CPR. Okay, yeah, Cooter, good question. Are they kin to Adam Montgomery or Ariel's? Yeah, I swear this is ridiculous. Same day around 12:55, Detective Higa interviewed Brandy at the Wahiawa Police Station, who stated that Geanna had lived with Brandy and her family since she was 2 years old, and Brandy obtained guardianship of Geanna when she was 4. Okay, so foster from 2 to 4, and then guardian 4 to 10. Brandy has 5 other children that reside with them. 4 are biological children with her husband, Thomas, and the 5th is adopted. Brandy's adopted child is AB. So remember AB, sorry, I need to write that down because my memory will go. So AB is the 4-year-old. Got it. Brandy's parents, Deborah and William, also live with them. Yeah, Black Wolf, I am not buying a lot of this. I really am not buying a lot of this. Part of her nose is missing. How could one even look at her without knowing that she needs help? Yeah, exactly. What about infection? Great. Didn't hurt. Okay, whatever. Okay, whatever. Hey, Tim, love you, my dear. Welcome. But her injuries sounded like they were bad enough that there was a chance for infection and stuff like that, too. Not saying there was infection, Just saying there was a chance. Okay. Um, at about 7:30 p.m., Brandy last saw Gianna when she went to sleep. At the time, Gianna seemed fine. At about 6 a.m. the next morning, Brandy went into Gianna and I'm suspecting it was her daughter's bedroom, and opened their blinds. At that time, Brandy could hear Gianna making noises in her bed. Brandy then left the bedroom. So again, they're saying at 6 a.m. she was totally fine, but by 8, she was stiff. Well, yeah, okay. We'll get into that some other time. Later in the morning, Deborah went to check on Gianna and called Brandy because she thought Gianna was not feeling well. When Brandy came into the bedroom, Gianna was still making noises, but it was softer. Brandy then called 911 and they instructed her to begin CPR. Brandy stated that Gianna has been diagnosed by a doctor with ADHD, as well as possibly, of course, this always pops in, with schizophrenia and bipolar. She was prescribed medications for her conditions and is usually seen by a psychologist once a month. It'd be interesting to see if that is true, whether or not that psychologist has any information or has ever noticed anything physically. Brandy further stated Gianna would have tantrums daily and throw herself on the ground, causing injuries to herself if she did not get her way. Yeah. I'm watching you guys in chat. Yeah, total. Amazing how many diagnoses are just because they were, yeah. Exactly. What's funny is these are the same basic red flag diagnoses that we hear every time something happens to a child like this. Okay. Yeah, I don't believe the timeline. Rigor mortis. Yeah, and it does. You will start. There's some level of that, but not to the degree that we're hearing. I don't think. I've got issues. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, the 4-year-old had to have issues too. I'm sure of it. Sorry, I'm being very, very. You guys are seeing a different side of me right now. What can I say? And sorry if you guys can hear the dogs barking through crisp. Hopefully, it's holding out. Brandy stated that Gianna had been Okay, we went through there and she did not get her way. When asked how Gianna had sustained her injuries, Brandy stated that the avulsion to the bridge of the nose was due to a bicycle accident, and the other injuries were from, of course, Gianna throwing herself onto the ground. Brandy described Gianna as smart and very active, but she does throw daily tantrums when she does not get her way. On January 14th, January 14th, all of this happens the 18th, 19th, sometime between early morning hours, let's say, of the 19th. So a little while before 18th, 4 or 5 days earlier. Brandy and her other minor children, CB and KB, went to Kapiolani Medical Center because they were sick and vomiting. GB was also sick and vomiting, but Brandy did not take her to the hospital with them. So her other kids are sick enough that she takes them to the hospital, but she does not take Gianna. Interesting right there. Yeah, and Seal, thank God. Okay, not only medical examiner, but one of the things I found out from here is the doctor who looked at Gianna after she had passed away was a pediatrician who's board certified in abuse, of children and recognizing everything there. Yeah, preferential treatment, who knows right there. At about 3:09 on January 19th, Detective Higa and Detective Kaholakula interviewed Deborah again, and Deborah stated that on possibly January 6th, she took Gianna and MB to the Wahiwa District Park sometime in the afternoon. So let's take a look, because I think this is where some of the injuries happen. January, let's see, January 6th. until the 18th. So almost 2 weeks earlier, she takes her to the park. While they were at the park, GB, Gianna, and MB were riding their bicycles. Gianna was crying and came to Deborah pointing at the handlebars of the bicycles, but Deborah did not see it. Gianna told Deborah that she hit her face on the handlebars of the bicycle and then she fell over sideways. GB also had other scrapes and open cuts with Deborah, which Deborah presumed were from her falling off her bicycle. Deborah did not see what happened because she was sitting by the fence playing her game on her phone. Deborah then took the two home and used ointment and gauze held in place with black tape to treat Gianna because she did not have band-aids. Gianna was not taken to the hospital because Deborah stated that there was nothing, quote, there was nothing really bad about it, just a kid running around and got injured. Yet we're being told this is where she hurt her nose, the nose bridge area and all that. No band-aids, using gauze, black tape. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm not saying, okay, maybe she just used up her last band-aid in the last few days because she's got all the kids at home. Okay, that's possible. But yeah. 6 kids and no band-aids seems very, very out of the norm. Was it a case where they had band-aids for some of the kids and not others? Maybe. I don't know. That's me making assumptions. Sorry. I am making assumptions there. With regards to eating, because one of the things you're going to find out here is that not only Gianna, but the 4-year-old were pretty emaciated. Okay. With regards to eating habits, Deborah stated that Gianna was not allowed to have treats, but ate keto. So 10-year-old was eating on a keto diet. Yeah, black tape, exactly, Seal. Exactly, Seal. Black tape, electrician's tape. That's what I'm kind of reading from that, which is what's making it even harder for me to address. So we got a 10-year-old on a keto diet. When asked if Gianna complained of pain at any time, Deborah stated, "No way," quote unquote, "no way." On January 19th, so the day that, okay, police came in and started the investigation, at about 3:38 p.m., Detective Higa and Detective Kaholakula interviewed Brandy again at the Wahiwa Police Station. Brandy stated that she was not present when Gianna fell off her bike, causing injury to her nose. At the time, Gianna was in the care of Deborah. Brandy did not take Gianna to the doctor for the injury to her nose because she did not complain of pain. Okay. I don't know if there was a possibility. Could she have? I mean, if you ever look at me, I've got scar up here from where I had to have stitches. Was this bad enough that it could have used stitches? I don't know. I've never seen it. It will be interesting to see what the answers are to those questions. Brandy further stated that she had removed Gianna from school due to COVID-19 and her behavior. Gianna participates in homeschooling, which is administered by Brandy and Thomas. Gianna uses MB, one of the other siblings, computer to do her homeschooling. I'm going to be interested in hearing this. Are the other children going to school? Are some of the others, the biological children, going to school? Sorry, we'll do that right now. Get a hold of band-aids and yeah, and that does make sense. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, and that's why I'm saying I'm jumping because I'm angry right now, but yeah. Um, Hopefully she changed out the electrical tape or black tape for real tape fairly soon. But like saying here, that stuff is strong. I mean, if that was black electrical tape, taking that off the skin is going to injure it even more and all. So, but no, you've got a point. Okay, and we always have to be open to looking at everything. And hey, Red Rock, how you doing, my dear? There you be again. And okay, let me come back over here. So yeah, no, I'd be interested. Are all the kids homeschooled? Is it just Gianna? Is it Gianna and the 4-year? Well, 4-year-old may not be in school yet. She does the computer. So is it a school issued computer that she's using? Interesting thought process there. Brandy could not recall when the last time her children, including Gianna, saw a pediatrician. She further stated that she thought Gianna may have seen the pediatrician about 3 years ago. So we have a 10-year-old who has not seen a, yeah, this is 137 pages, guys, and we're not going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to go through, okay, this numbered section here. Then I'll read more, and then we'll come back and do a follow-up. But 10 guys, I'm not a mom. Let me know if I'm really out of control here, but does it make sense for a child to not see a doctor at all from the age of 7 to the age of 10? Just interesting. And they took her out of school in 2022 on top of it. I'm sorry, in my eyes, when you've got a child who's been pulled out of school, I think even more important that they're seeing a doctor once in a while for a doctor to be able to assess things also. It would be very interested to see. And those are the things we need to be looking at. When we talk about changing policies, changing the system, those are the things we're talking about. What new system things need to be put into place to protect? Nope, they have an 8-year checkup. See, I didn't even know. So at 8 years, there's a normal checkup. 10, we now know, this sounds crazy, but at age 10 nowadays, you have kids who are starting to go, especially girls, they're starting to go into hormonal changes and all that, checking that everything's right on that level. And also, yeah. If she had the needs she had, I think she would be in public school for more support. Yeah. If she's got ADHD, possible schizophrenia, all those things, it would be nice for her to be in school where she could get extra care and support with that. Brandy, yeah, couldn't recall last time she saw a doctor. Yeah, Crystal, the mom and you knows that one. Sleuth just said the issues is she wouldn't have been in a system to have checkups or follow-up care. The 4-year-old would have, but she was completely, yeah, and see, that's the issue. We don't have these systems in place. Okay, she wasn't in some of these setups where it would have been mandated. Well, we need to have these things mandated. Okay, why are they not being mandated? And how can we change that? And also, yeah, not normal at all. Loving parents would be concerned with her mental health too. Yeah. I agree, Sleuth. I think homeschooling, some of the smartest, most loving, caring kids that I know, and smart, again, like I said, are homeschooled. Homeschool is an amazing program when it's done correctly. But that's the problem. Many people in abusive type situations are not doing it correctly. They're using homeschool as the excuse for them to get around all these other checks and balances that we have in place. Okay, where a parent who's homeschooling and takes pride in homeschooling, Sleuth, and you've got systems set up in place to make sure social growth is going on, psychosocial, because that's one of the things mentioned about the 4-year-old. The 4-year-old actually has failure to thrive, not only from from calorie restrictions, but psychosocial. Okay, not having the chance to grow psychosocially. Okay, Seal, who diagnosed her with the issues the foster parents said she had? Or is it just throwing out? Is it being diagnosed by them? But in my state, we have a certified evaluator speak with the children face to face and evaluate the year of work. Not sure. Yeah. And that's the thing. We need to look at those types of things because it's an amazing program when set up correctly. And also, let's see, let's go through this. Brandy restricted Gianna from eating sugar, caffeine, and chocolate. Besides her restrictions, She describes Gianna as eating normally, although they do mostly follow a keto diet. However, Brandy was not overly concerned about Gianna's health due to her being a very active child. On January 19th at 9:30 p.m., Detective Higa and Detective Kaholo Kula interviewed Thomas Sr. again at the house. Thomas stated that on January 18th, when Gianna was discovered unresponsive, Thomas briefly went into the room to see what was happening. Thomas touched Gianna to check for a pulse, but then went to his own bedroom with the other children. So I guess he's saying his job was to take the other kids into a separate room so they were not witnessing everything going on there. I could give them the benefit of that. Okay, it's not something you really want another child. Hopefully, they are protecting all the children. Okay, because no child, okay, should have to see something like that whatsoever. On January 20th, so the next day after all this started up, Thomas provided Detective Higa with the paperwork for the guardianship of Gianna. The guardianship paperwork indicated that Thomas Sr. and Brandy had been appointed as legal guardians for Gianna on October 8th, 2018, and was signed by Judge Bodie Uale on October 10th, 2018. On the 22nd, 2 days after that, CB, TB, and MB were interviewed. Okay, I'm trying to remember. I think AB is actually the 4-year-old. So these were 3 of the biological children, if I'm reading this correct. Okay. All children denied that Gianna was treated or fed differently. Okay. Now, guys, we know for a fact that children many times will say anything because of the fact they're scared they're going to be pulled away. They're scared they're going to upset mom or dad. They themselves, as was one person asked during the conference presser, were the other children made to abuse? Okay, Gianna, we do not know the answer to that question right now. But many times that will leave a child worried about things. How old are the bio children? I have not seen anything about that yet. That's what I was hoping we'd find here, but I have not seen that yet. So we'll have to see. After Gianna died, TB stated that Brandy told them that Gianna had passed away and that they did so much for her and took care of her, quote, even though she was mean to us, end quote. TB stated that Brandy also told him not to tell people that Gianna passed away, like, for example, at school, because those are their private things. Hey, Robbie, love you, my dear. Love you, my dear. So what I'm taking from that, they're wanting to keep things very quiet and stuff like that, number one. In Hawaii, once conversation starts, it really gets going. Interesting. What gets one comment there? If I'm reading this correctly, guys, tell me if I'm reading this incorrectly. Did Brandy, the mother, actually use the words that they had passed away, and that they took care of her and they loved her and all that stuff, quote, even though she was mean to us? That's a loaded conversation to be having with a child. Okay, why would you tell your children? I am reading that correctly, Seal. Okay. Why would you be unloading a comment like that on your children? Okay, that's showing something right there in my eyes. After Gianna died, TB stated, okay, we went there. Your affiant had the opportunity to view TB at his interview. TB appeared to be wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Guys, remember Hawaii, it's warm. He also appeared to be of a healthy weight with no injuries to his face or parts of his body that were uncovered. And yes, it's been chilly here, but we still wear shorts a lot of times. So that type of outfit does not surprise me at all. Okay, even for February. MB stated that Gianna sustained the injury to her nose when she fell off her bicycle at the park. MB stated that they were at Wahiwa Park a week or two ago and she was on her cousin Ezekiel's bike riding when she saw Gianna fall down to the ground. Yes, sleuth. It is chilly for us at age at 70 degrees. Trust me. Oh yes, what can I say? Oh my god, I had to take a jacket with me to everything over the weekend. It was cold. And um let's see, continuing that on, she fell down to the ground. Their grandma, Deborah, was watching them. MB noticed that she had a little open cut on her nose. Quote, a little open cut on her nose. When she saw GB fall, she asked if Gianna, was okay, and Gianna stated, oh, I'm fine. MB then saw Grandma put a Band-Aid on GB's nose, and yet we just found, we're told by others that they put gauze and tape on it. Something tells me the kids know a Band-Aid is what would have been the right thing to do. And if they're answering questions based off of what is right, that would make sense. And so it's 74 there right now, Seal. Oh, 55 for you guys. Oh my God, 50. Oh my gosh, you guys are, I'd be freezing. I'd be freezing. Sorry. I keep turning my AC off because my hands are like ice right now. On January 17th, okay, so this is the day before she passed away. During the evening hours, NB, okay, the child, okay, the sibling, adopted Hanai sibling, last saw Gianna when they ate dinner in the kitchen. She otherwise seemed fine, was talking about their favorite color, and was quote unquote regular. I would love to know MB's actual name, age, not name, age. That would be helpful to know. The next day in the early morning hours, NB heard again. NB is the one who sleeps in the same room as Gianna. Okay, MB heard Gianna making gurgling noises when she woke up, or when MB woke up. MB stated that all of her siblings were sick, including GB, and that Gianna, was coughing. MB then stayed in the bedroom when EMS, HFD, and HPD arrived at their house. Didn't the father make a comment that he took the kids into a separate room to make sure that they were out of the way and stuff like that? And yet here they stayed in their bedroom while everyone, we do know EMS and all that, took Gianna into the living room when they got there to give more room for CPR and all that stuff. That, okay, interesting there. She was, Seal, I hate to say it, she was. That was probably Chain Stokes, and yeah, no, that probably was the death sounds. And no mention of fever that I'm hearing right now, but I wouldn't be surprised at the same thing. The other thing, I can tell you a lot of people are fighting a bug right now. But again, didn't take her to the doctor or anything because she was, quote, fine. And so 27 degrees. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Chain Stokes breathing, pretty much, is what I'm thinking here. Okay. Let's see, going on down here. Okay. MB, so again, the sibling, biological. Okay, this time biological to the two parents, stated that the last time she saw their pediatrician was approximately a month ago for a checkup, but she's not sure of the time. And that makes sense. We heard that they were all taken there because they were feeling bad, but they left Gianna at home, who was also feeling bad. MB stated she never saw Gianna in pain or hurting. Kind of gets me wondering, and again, assumption, guys, completely assumption. A lot of times, if a person complains of hurting long enough and no one ever pays attention to it, or they're told, if you keep complaining, something's going to happen, you just shut up. So is it possible that she wasn't complaining of pain or thing? Yeah, it is actually. I have to say that it is. Especially depending on what would happen if she did complain in the past. Or did it ever happen to begin with? Black Wolf is saying the ketogenic diet is a high-fat, adequate protein, low-carbohydrate dietary therapy that in convention. And see, that's it. A lot of people, I've done keto. Okay, a lot of my friends are doing keto right now. And I can definitely tell you from what it sounds like that Gianna was definitely not having weight issues. If anything, she was underweight. As the doctors were saying, her clavicle bones were very, very easy to see. Okay, all these bones were just there to be seen. And um you're fine. Yeah, Gianna was sick too. Why not take her with everyone else there so they could have all been checked off? Makes sense to me too, Crystal. Your client had the opportunity to view MB at her interview. At that time, she was attired in shorts, t-shirt. Okay, all that stuff we kind of went over earlier with one of the others. So, on January 23rd at 7:47 p.m., your client and Detective Higa interviewed HFD firefighter Adam Sullivan, who stated that on January 18th, he was dispatched to 33 Karsten Drive to a cardiac arrest type case. When Sullivan entered the house, he saw the child's grandmother standing at the door, confirmed that it was in fact the house, and she informed him that they were in the bedroom. When Sullivan went into the bedroom, he saw the child on the floor and the mother performing CPR, quote, of some sort, and doing chest compressions with one hand. So definitely someone who did not know how to do CPR, okay, was trying to do something, but anyone who knows CPR, okay, yeah, you do that. You're not just doing, yeah, no. Now, yes, with children, there are different ways of doing things with an infant. This is a 10-year-old. The mother, Brandy, informed Sullivan that they had found her that morning. Sullivan had her move out of the way so they could assess the child. Sullivan observed that the child was cold. She had sores on her face, and she looked to be deceased with no pulse. Because she was cold to the touch, Sullivan checked her to see if rigor mortis had set in. He noticed that her jaw seemed a little clenched. When they picked her up, they noticed that she was stiff. Sullivan stated that being cold and stiff are obvious signs of death and being dead for some time. So this is not just an hour, okay, or anything like they're saying. Sullivan noticed a large avulsion on her nose, so the opened up area on her nose, and there was a large chunk of the bridge of her nose missing. They also noticed sores around her mouth, and her teeth were in bad condition. When they moved her to the living room, they pulled the blanket off the child and noticed sores all over her body. Yeah, click and go. You said it. Sullivan stated that either the mother or the grandmother stated that the last time they saw the child normal was the night prior. Pretty scary. They thought that was seeing a child normal. On January 23rd at about 4 p.m., Detective Higa interviewed Shelley Meneses, a paramedic who had been employed with the city and county of Honolulu for 29 years. Wow. She stated that she responded to a call of a cardiac arrest of a 10-year-old female on Thursday, January 18th at residence of 33 Karsten Drive. Meneses noticed that the child looked very small for a 10-year-old. She was not alive for quite a while. And for a small child, was very small for a child of 10 years old, and that she had swelling to her eyes and darkness to the orbits, so the areas around. She also had wounds on her face. Meneses then observed further injuries on the child, that she was already in slight rigor mortis. So we are not talking complete. So it is good to be getting some of this information so we get a better idea. So I would not say days now if they're talking slight, but I don't think we're talking 2 or 3 hours either. And also, okay, maybe 4 or something like that. It was definitely overnight as well. That's just me though. That's me. I may be completely wrong on that. Slight rigor mortis, cold to the touch, and that she had significant older injuries to her face. multiple bruising from her face all the way down to her feet. This poor baby. When Menasses asked about the injuries on her face, they stated that the child had fallen off of her bike. Seal, I'm wondering where her biological parents are too. I really am. My heart goes to them. Even if something happened to have them taken away and everything, they're still your child. Yeah, my heart goes to them when they find this out. Let's see. Menasses asked the family when she fell off her bike, and mother stated that she didn't know because the child was in the care of the grandmother. Yet this was days ago and you wouldn't have known. Okay. When Menasses asked the grandmother when the child fell off the bike, grandmother also stated she didn't know, but it was a long time ago. When Menasses pressed further and asked, "What is a long time for you?" the grandmother persisted in her response that she did not know. I'm ready to say an F word right now that I'm not going to say. Menasses asked if they had taken the child to the doctor, and she stated that mother and grandmother both said no. Thank you, Christola. On January 23rd at about 1:42 p.m., Eurafient and Detective Higa conducted a recorded interview with Jody Wong, the prior third grade teacher of Geanna. So they actually were able to speak to the teacher of Geanna before she was pulled out of school in 2022. Mrs. Wong stated that Geanna was only her student for the first quarter of that year, from early August of 22 to October of 22, because after that, her parents pulled her out of school. Wong knew that she had a background of special needs in the lower grades, so that does seem something that had been going on, and some behavior issues. But at that time, when Wong met her, she was very settled and she observed none of the behaviors that Geanna was alleged to have when she was younger. Wong stated she did not observe Geanna with any of the behavior issues, nor any acts of active defiance, just normal third grade behavior. Wong also did not see any indications of any behaviors that made her think that Geanna engaged in self-harm. Geanna was taken out of class at the end of the first quarter by her parents, which was not something that Wong had recommended because she felt that she was making progress with Geanna. Makes me question these behaviors that they were telling teachers about, that teachers were like, oh yeah, looks like there were past behaviors of this. Was the information about this behavior coming from the two parents, the two guardians? Because that is, or was it documented behavior that second grade teacher and first grade teacher saw? But my gut is saying now, especially if the teacher was not seeing anything and actually thought she should stay in school. On January 19th, Dr. John Gates of the City and County of Honolulu Medical Examiner's Office conducted an autopsy on Geanna. Upon conclusion of the autopsy, Dr. Gates was not able to make a determination as to the cause and matter of Geanna's death. Dr. Gates needs to perform further testing in order to determine a cause and manner of death. So we're probably going to be hearing more on that as that comes back. Yeah, this is interesting. On February 8th, after additional testing was performed, Dr. John Gates determined that the cause of death is, okay, this matches now, is the result of multiple effects of prolonged child abuse and neglect. Additionally, cause of death is the result of starvation, blunt force injury due to assault, prolonged immobilization and physical restraint, medical neglect, and pneumonia. So this girl, other siblings were sick. They all went into the doctor, and I'm sure the doctor gave them medications and stuff like that. But most likely, if she got sick at the same time, my suspicion is with the same damn cold that I had, because everyone in Honolulu was getting that at the beginning of January, because no one was treating it, I wouldn't be surprised if it went into pneumonia. That's what it's making sense to me as right now. because it was never treated. She was kept still, tied up. On February 8th, after additional testing, okay, we just went through that. On January 26th, okay, we're now talking over a week later as they're doing the investigation. Detective Higa and Eurofiant, in concurrence with the Office of the Medical Examiner, requested the assistance of Dr. Kayal Natarajan, board certified child abuse pediatrician, for a consultation regarding Geanna. The Office of the ME provided Dr. Natarajan with relevant medical records for her consultation. Dr. N, sorry, easier to pronounce that way. I can do Hawaiian names, but not others. Is medical director, board certified by the American Board of Pediatrics in General Pediatrics and Child Abuse Pediatrics. She is an attending pediatrician at the Queen Emma Clinics and performs child abuse evaluations at the Kapiolani Medical Center. She is also a medical consultant to the Department of Human Services Child Welfare Division and Child and Family Services. On January 27th, Dr. N conducted a medical consultation and made the following findings with regards to GB. That the information and photos relied upon are consistent with medical neglect, physical neglect, and chronic physical abuse, and are also consistent with features seen in fatal starvation. Guys, as we go through this, yes, first click and go, you're right, this stuff is super heavy. The other reason why we're going through this right now is not only is this standing up for and being a voice for Geanna, but so many of the red flags we're seeing here, so many of what we're hearing is sounding like a direct repeat from what we heard happen to Ariel. And it has to stop. We're making the stand. We need to get more and more people to take that stand and say we need to find out what's happening in these cases so it can stop. The multitude of injuries, bruises, and scars, as well as the location and pattern of these on the body, are not expected in accidental trauma and are very likely from repeated abusive trauma. So this is not coming from a bike accident. Okay, this is from repeated abusive trauma. There are no indications in the records available for review that Geanna was taken for medical treatment of the recent injuries. Dr. N also noted that Geanna had not had routine pediatric care since the 5-year-old well child checkup. Half of her life, 5 to 10. She had very poor weight gain over the past 3 years, with no medical appointments to address the lack of weight gain. Specifically, she weighed 54 pounds in 2020. 2 years later, she only gained 3 pounds. From age 8 to 10, she gained 3 pounds. No, I've gained more than that. Dr. N opined that GB's features at death were consistent with fatal starvation seen, including general emaciation, prominent joints, prominent ribs, generalized loss of subcutaneous fat, the fat layer, sunken eyes, and muscle atrophy. Yeah, 57 pounds at age 10. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Seal. If she had not seen anyone since she was 5, then I don't believe problems with behavior. I agree. They're like, yeah. Photos also indicate a multitude, too numerous to count, of wounds all over her body. And this couple literally took pictures. They were proud. I'm sorry, but my phone I've got tons of pictures that I show people. Look at what my dog did. I do that. Robbie was here earlier. Crystal, Nicole, okay, all these people, all my friends out here and all. Oh, look at what my dog did the other day. Look at this. Isn't this cute? And stuff like that. What did this couple do? Oh, look at this picture of where we tied her up and we had duct tape with her arms tied to her here. Why? Photos also indicate a multitude of too numerous to count of wounds all over her body, as well as her two front teeth were also broken. Gianna's last medical appointment in September of 2022 noted that it was acute care for sore throat and fever. Physical exam noted abrasions on her forehead and scars on the back, reported by guardians to be, of course, self-inflicted. Yeah, Seal, why the hell do you take pictures of the stuff? It makes no sense. With regards to the autopsy, Dr. N stated that Geanna had many injuries and scars to places on the body that a child would unlikely injure themselves, such as the ears, neck, upper mid-back. I mean, yeah, how does a kid injure themselves in that upper mid-back area? Center of the nasal bridge, backs of her legs, her heels. The pattern and multitude of many of these scars are suggestive of abusive injury rather than accidental injury. Will do, click and go. Take care, my dear. She noted that the wounds to the nasal bridge between eyes was very deep and that there was injury to Gianna's two front teeth and upper lip and a multitude of scars around her mouth and face. Dr. N found that this is indicative of trauma to the face with significant enough force to break her teeth. So the trauma was strong enough, forceful enough to break the front teeth. And no, I get you. I get you, Crystal. There's one thing taking pictures. I mean, trust me. When I cut my finger, I took pictures of that. So yeah, no, there is something with that. There's taking pictures that they did different, not true. But yeah, I get what you're saying totally. She was probably punched. Exactly, Seal. Probably that's what it's sounding like to me. Dr. N also found, oh wait, here we go. Also noted that there was a large wound under her chin, also several linear scars on the front of her throat, suggestive of ligature injury to the throat, to choking. Injuries to her throat lines across her throat, as if there was a ligature in place of some sort. And that behind the right earlobe, there was a wound on her skull. Not on the skin only, all the way down to the skull. She noted that this is a location unlikely to be accidentally injured. The right earlobe also appears to be injured. Dr. N also found bilateral scars and wounds on both hands, and Gianna's back was covered with many scars and wounds. Guys, this is hard to hear. Take care of yourself. If you need to leave, leave. Take care of yourself. Please help us share. So, okay, so her story doesn't just disappear and people are like, okay, yeah, whatever. And 3 or 4 years from now, we're still waiting for a trial. Please keep speaking. Okay, but take care of yourself. I don't know, Crystal. We'll have to find out if she even had visitation with bio parents. I don't know at this point. Most significant is a deep wound at the base of her spine, which appears so deep, the vertebral bone is visible. There is a concentration of wounds along the spine. This injury pattern is suggestive of non-accidental injury. The various stages of healing noted indicate repeated injury to her. On January 26th, your affiant learned that AB, so AB is the adopted, the 4-year-old, Brandy and Thomas's adopted 4-year-old child was removed from care of the Bloss family and was admitted to the hospital on January 23rd due to a variety of health issues that were assessed by Dr. N. So this little guy, after his Hanai sibling dies, and kids, both biological and adopted, are taken out of the house, instead of going to a home where he can sleep in a comfortable bed and have other people taking care of him and making sure that he's okay and all that, dealing with the emotional things, he is so injured and sick that the doctor decides to admit him into the hospital. On January 29th, hey, bitch talks, love you, my dear. Warning, very triggering on this one, but love you, my dear. Thanks for popping in. Okay. On January 29th, Dr. N noted that, again, the 4-year-old had global developmental delays and an extremely small stature, which is very likely due to psychosocial deprivation. He was also suffering from failure to thrive, very likely due to calorie and psychosocial deprivation, and that he suffered from physical abuse as indicated by multiple bruises and scars consistent with such abuse. She also noted that he suffers from medical neglect as he has had no pediatric care since he was 8 months old and brought into their care. So we have someone who's brought in under a foster system, then goes into adoption and had no follow-up pediatric. On January 26th, Eurofient and Detective Davidson went to the hospital to observe and take photos of the 4-year-old, and it appeared that he was very unsteady on his feet and did not walk like a normal 4-year-old. He appeared to walk like a toddler in that disjointed fashion, as if he was just learning to walk. He appears very frail and thin in nature and appeared to have the following marks and or injuries to his body. Bruising to his lower back in 4 spots. Bruising to his upper back in 2 spots near his shoulder blades. Slight bruising to the back of his ears. A lot of the same locations I'm noticing. Small bruises to his arms. Scratches to his body and extremities. What appears to be a human bite mark on his right thigh. I'm wondering what the size of that is. Failure to thrive is diagnosed when a child's weight or rate of weight gain is significantly below that of children of a similar age and sex. Infants or children that fail to thrive seem to be dramatically smaller or shorter than other children the same age. Global developmental delays is a term used for children under 5 years old and is defined as a significant delay in 2 or more domains of development, including activities of daily living, such as motor, cognitive, speech, language, personal, social skills. Yeah, I hope this little one never goes back, and I'm hoping he finds people who love him, because he deserves that. Every kid deserves that. Psychosocial deprivation is defined as a lack of adequate opportunity for social and intellectual stimulation. It may be a significant factor in emotional disturbance and delayed mental development or intellectual development disorder in children. On January, we'll do, my dear, on January, let me go check this out real quick. Oh, let me see if I can pull this up real quickly. Sorry, guys. She just shared something with me. I can pull this up. Oh, yeah. Crystal, the one thing I am hearing is that there are no signs whatsoever of any abuse issues with the other children. Okay, let me see if I can get this. Um, sorry, guys, I've got some video here. Let me pull this up for a sec. Okay, good. I can do this without anything showing up. So I'm going to share this out with you, then we'll come back to that. Share screen. Okay, so we've got video here of the arrest this morning. I don't know if there is one.
Into the girl's death, ruled it a homicide.
Wait, I'm going to do this
And-
real quick. Okay. So this is the
dead in her Wahiawa home last month have been arrested.
And KHON2 News were the only cameras there as police arrested 3 people at their Wahiawa home this morning after the investigation into the girl's death ruled it a homicide. And late this afternoon, the 3 were charged with murder. They're being held without bail.
Jen Boniza was there for the arrest and has the story. And we warn you that police disclosed several disturbing details about the case. 67-year-old Deborah Jerome, 40-year-old Thomas Bloss, and 35-year-old Brandy Bloss were arrested for the murder of Geanna Bradly. According to police, the Blosses are the legal guardians of Geanna. The case was initially classified as an unattended death after first responders were called to the home January 18th.
Homicide detectives were called to the home after responding officers noted that Geanna had multiple facial injuries, including multiple scratch-like marks around her ears, eyes, forehead, cheeks, and lips. Her eyelids appeared slightly bruised, and there were road rash type injuries to her chin. Part of her nose bridge was missing.
According to Tamus, Jerome told officers that Geanna was prescribed medicine for multiple mental disorders and injured herself through daily tantrums. But after an intensive 3-week investigation, the case was reclassified as murder.
The pediatrician noted that Geanna's physical appearance at the time of death was consistent with medical neglect, physical neglect, and chronic physical abuse, as well as features seen in fatal starvation.
The investigation also retrieved data from the suspects' cell phones with numerous photos and videos showing the abuse.
The child's arms are taped to her torso, and there is duct tape wrapped around her eyes, forehead, and over the top of her head.
The 3 suspects were taken into custody here in Wahiawa around 6 a.m. this morning. Now, investigators tell me that this case is starkly similar to that of 6-year-old Isabella Kalua, who was allegedly killed by her adoptive parents in August of 2021, but whose body is yet to be found. The 10-year-old victim in this case, police say, was allegedly bound with duct tape and starved, similar to that of Kalua. But the difference in this case is that investigators have the victim's body, which they say will help with the investigation. Tamus says there were 5 other children living in the home. 4 biological children of Brandy and Thomas Bloss were reported healthy with no signs of physical abuse. The 5th child was an adopted 4-year-old boy who also showed signs of abuse, starvation, and neglect. All 5 children were removed from the home. Jen Boniza, KH12 News, working for Hawaii. The legal guardians of a 10-year-old girl found.
That is awesome news. Okay. I'm happy they had her because at least in this case, it wasn't a missing child. And also they were able to actually start looking at things immediately. And Crystal, thank you so much. Okay. I know you got your own kiddos. That's your priority. So take care of them. As for unattended, Crystal asked, what do they mean by unattended death? Basically, that's just the word that is used anytime someone dies and no one's there at the time of the death. Okay, so basically she died overnight and no one actually knew what happened or anything like that. So that's where that comes from. So, Seal, thanks for sending that. I was definitely a little happy to see it raining as that all happened today. I was just like, okay, only way it could have been even better is if it had been pouring and they had no jacket to wear. That would have been great. But anyhow, sorry. So moving on with this. I'm back at the beginning to hear everything and listening. Hey, you got it. Bitch talks, this girl stuff. This is a rough one. This is a really rough one because it's not only this little one went through things she should never have had to go through, the 4-year-old, same thing, but it's just a callback to Ariel, as you're seeing on the news and everything. This is a callback to Ariel. Not be going back to that. I mean, we should be fixing things so it doesn't keep happening and all. So, okay, so back to this. Let's see. Psychosocial, we went through that. January 19th, Detective Higa met with Brandy and Deborah, who gave them permission to recover and search their cell phones. And now we're going to start dealing with what was found on those cell phones, I suspect. Detective Thomas Lanuma performed a forensic extraction of the data contained within the aforementioned cellular phones. Detective Lanuma is a Metropolitan Police officer employed at HPD. He's been there for 10 years. Hey, JP. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Love you, my dear. And it's been a really rough day listening to this. Yasil, this has just been really a rough day with all this. Like I said, I started the day with an earthquake and then this happened and it's just been weird day. And this should not be happening over and over. And taking a stand needs to happen. We need to take stands. He's been employed there for 10 years. He received training through the National Computer Forensic Institute. Lists a bunch of those things. He's assisted with over 300 criminal investigations and testified. So on January 22nd, Detective Kendall Wong examined the data contained with the cell phone belonging to Deborah. Detective Wong has assisted in numerous investigations, covering over 50 phones. While examining the media files that had been extracted from the phone, Detective Wong discovered the following images and video. Warning. Again, trigger warning, guys. Again, I still have the trigger warning up. That's good. 1, an image of what appears to be of a video surveillance monitor. The image on the monitor is what appears to be Geanna standing in a fenced area wearing some type of blindfold over her eyes. Geanna is wearing a pink long sleeve shirt and dark pants. An image of a VTech baby monitor device where the screen on the device depicts what appears to be a child that appears to be Geanna in a small enclosed space with a box covering their face and head. There is a white bucket next to her, and it is unclear on the position of the child's hands and arms. 3, an image of what appears to be Geanna bound with what appears to be duct tape in a small enclosed area with white and green painted interior walls. Geanna has duct tape around her arms and torso, binding them to her sides, and her hands are behind her. Guys, I don't know. We're trying to figure out where the kidnapping is coming from, and I'm really wondering if this is where the kidnapping is coming from. Gianna's eyes have a black covering duct taped to her head. The duct tape is wrapped around her eyes and forehead area, as well as over the top of her head. Geanna is wearing a yellow crop top shirt with no sleeves and lavender bottoms. There are apparent injuries to her shoulders and lower face. Yeah. It's the only way to answer that. There is no answer. 4, an image of what appears to be the 4-year-old now, strapped in a car seat. His eyes are closed, and there is what appears to be vomit on his face. The car seat and the ground near the top of the car seat. Again, why take pictures of this stuff? While examining the media files that had been extracted from Brandy's phone, Detective Wong discovered the following images and video. A video of Trigger warning, guys. I know what's here. A video of violent interaction between what appears to be Geanna and Thomas Sr., so her guardian dad. The room is a small room with brown wooden floor pattern and a rolled up carpet rug near the wall, and a picture with a white background hung on the same wall. Geanna is sitting on the floor in the room when Thomas walks in and kicks her in the head, under no apparent provocation. He then throws a stack of papers towards Geanna, saying, quote, "Watch your mouth," and then, quote, "Fix your effing papers," end quote, before walking out. It does sound like something out of Sound of Freedom. It really, honestly, I had thought about it, but yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. Exactly. An image of what appears to be Geanna wearing a long sleeve purple shirt with some type of yellow covering over her head. The yellow covering is then wrapped with duct tape around her head. She appears to be in a small enclosed area with green painted interior walls. Geanna is facing one of the walls in a standing position. In front of Geanna on the ground is a bucket. There is a male that appears to be Thomas, again her guardian father, standing in front of Geanna. A black and white image of what appears to be Geanna standing in the same enclosure as prior images. Geanna has what appears to be duct tape wrapped around her head. She is in a standing position with her head facing the ground. Pursuant to a search warrant approved by the Honorable Alvin Nishimura on February 1st to search 33 Karsten Drive, your affiant discovered what appears to be the room with green walls. The room was attached to the kitchen and immediately next to the refrigerator is a small covered enclosed room-like structure, approximately 7 feet in length and 3 feet and 10 inches wide. Guys, get that size. 7 feet long. Do any of you guys know any 6 foot tall men? 1 foot taller than that. Length 3 feet 10 inches wide. I'm 5'4". That was a jail cell in my eyes. Yeah, Seal, I'm really having a hard time right now keeping calm on this. The structure appears to have been porch that is now enclosed by 4 walls and a roof, which tells me it was a lanai, a porch that they enclosed. Was it enclosed purposely for this reason? It has 2 doors, one that opens into the kitchen and another that opens into the back laundry area. So it's not a laundry room. It was used for this reason. Of the texts recovered, they also included back and forth messages regarding Brandy and Deborah's viewing of Geanna from 2013 from an unknown surveillance system. Based on the messages between Brandy and Deborah, the surveillance system appeared to be accessible to Brandy. Between the days of May 11th, 2023 and last year, May, and January of this year, Brandy and Deborah participated in a series of text messages which appear to reference Geanna and instructions for Thomas to take specific actions. The instructions to Thomas Sr. include, but are not limited to, the following actions: to ignore Geanna, to put Gianna's hands a certain way, to clean out Gianna's toilet, the bucket, and to check on Geanna and the box in which she was sleeping. Seal, I have a funny feeling the kids saw, but we know how parents will play games with the kids. Were they scared that they do something against them? And in that point, if that's true, that's abusing their own kids emotionally, mentally. Yeah, they teamed up against her. On the early morning, one second. I hope Click and Go said, I hope the officials will be affected by this case. Maybe, yeah. You know, the thing is, we see HPD stands up to this. We see other groups stand up to this. But until, go back to that press conference when the question was said, was Child and Family Services informed of any issues regarding to this case? And the police said, well, you know what, we'll let them answer that. And the answer from the journalist was, well, we'll never hear anything from them. That's telling you how even the journalists feel at this point. People need to realize it's about fixing the systems. It's hard to look at your systems when you know your systems are failing. It's really hard to see that, but you have to do it. And on the early morning of January 18th, neither Thomas, Brandy, nor Deborah, while in the same approximately 837 square foot home, notified police and or emergency services immediately when they found her unresponsive. Took them a while to respond, it looks like. On the early morning of January 18th, Thomas Sr., while in the same approximate 837 square foot home as Brandy and Deborah, participated in giving emergency management services and Honolulu Fire Department workers an inaccurate account about where Geanna lived, slept, and the true nature of her condition, despite knowing that she was kept bound and in the room off of the kitchen. Wow. There is an article about the lawmakers questioning. Guys, we're going to be following up on this case. This case cannot be allowed to die. Okay, justice, not just Geanna, but her Hanai brother. And I'm sorry, even her Hanai other siblings, because I think they've been abused in their own way, just in a different way. On the early, let's see, let's see down here. Between January 1st and January 18th of this year, Thomas Sr., Brandy, and Deborah, all of whom had legal custody and or had physical custody of Geanna, failed to obtain medical treatment for her even after she sustained a large avulsion to the bridge of her nose. So, Brandy and Thomas Sr. failed to obtain regular medical care for Geanna and or treatment for specific conditions, including but not limited to the open sores found on her body on January 18th and or the lack of nutrition and or injuries to her face and back. Thomas Sr. and Brandy appeared to have been receiving, here comes some money answers, appeared to be receiving $1,961 per month from the state of Hawaii for Geanna. A review of bank statements dated August 14th, 2023, in conjunction with text messages between Brandy, Deborah, and Thomas, demonstrate agreements and plans regarding the purchase of various foods and eating at restaurants. The residents at 33 Karsten Drive on January 18th possessed sufficient food supply to feed many people. They were getting over $1,900 a month for her. From January 18th to date, January 22nd, Brandy, Thomas, Deborah, as well as 3 of the biological minor children of Brandy and Thomas, have persisted in the same narrative about Geanna. The narrative consists of statements that Geanna suffered from behavioral issues, but was nonetheless treated well, treated the same as the other children, that she was very active, and she slept, ate, and played normally, as well as played with the other children. So pulling all this stuff together, the decision was made to actually charge them, all 3, on a number of charges. Brandy, mom, adopted mom, Hanai mom, not adopted, but guardian, was brought up on murder 2. second-degree murder. Kidnapping times 2. So I'm thinking they're getting kidnapping for both children. I may be wrong on that, but it's sounding like kidnapping for both children. Unlawful imprisonment times 2. Is that both children again? Right now, all 3 of those things, all 3 adults are being charged with. In addition, Brandy and her mother are also brought up on hindering prosecution. Thomas is brought up along with the other 2 on endangering the welfare of a minor. I don't know if there's going to be more things, very, very possibly more things. I'm trying to see if there's anything that I had note on that was not necessarily popping up there. I think everything was straight out of there, so that was great. I know one of those videos was literally 2 days before her death. Guys, this is just 17 pages. I have to go through the rest of this stuff, and I will go through the rest of all this. And if we need to come back, we will. I have a funny feeling all of the other documents are probably pretty close to the same thing, but I will definitely go through the rest of this and get back to you guys with what I can find from it. Yeah, there may be other things, and I don't know, what do they mean by kidnapping? That's both Sleuth Mom and I've been talking about that. What do they mean by kidnapping? Is it holding, okay, Geanna in that room against her will? That'd be considered kidnapping. But if there's 2 charges of it, is it on 2 different occasions, or is it both children? Okay, I don't know. I really honestly am not sure about that. Yeah, $1,900, and they could not get her to the doctor for her nose. And guys, the reason why I usually cover missing people. You guys know that. But kids and seniors have always been close to my heart. There's a reason why I do long-term care. Okay, there was a reason I almost became a special education teacher. And when I heard this, and I've already been going like crazy over everything with Ariel lately, because on the 21st, we are hoping that the court will unseal some of her adoption records so we can see just what did the state know about. What can be changed? We've got to stop it. Like I said, I get it. I get it as a company. It's hard. There were times that I'd be sitting doing QA for a facility, and I'd see an issue that was happening and it'd be breaking my heart. I was like, oh, I don't want to, oh my God, how did this happen and all that? But you know what? It's not about, oh my gosh, the blame. Yeah, blame's there. People are going to take blame for things. But you know what? We got to stop it. I don't want, I know Seal doesn't want to, I don't want to. Okay, Sleuth Mom, none of us want to keep opening up our phones and having to do research on a case like this, guys. So if you're in Hawaii, if you're watching this from Hawaii, we are going to, and it's not just here on Oahu. Okay, the other islands are joining us on the 21st of February, 7:30 in the morning, various locations depending on the island. And we're going to come together to push and to speak up for Ariel and to say these records need to be unsealed. We need to have parental rights of the Kaluas stripped. Those things have to happen. If you live on one of these islands, you have something, you have the ability of something that I know many people in the chat right now wish they had the opportunity to do, which is be there and be able to stand up and take a stand. How many of you guys in chat right now wish you could be here and actually take a stand? But because the same way when I see things happening on the mainland, Geanna, Harmony, all these other cases that are going on, I want to be there and I can't be there. You guys are having it the opposite right now. You would love to be here to be able to stand up, but you can't. But there are people here who can. And for those of you who are not on island, bingo, share. Because you know what? The bigger this is, the more people who are saying something has to change, the more chance things are going to change. The only thing that changes, the only thing that gets oil and grease is the squeaky wheel. So we have to do something about that. So you guys can help us out with that way. And I'm going to keep covering this case. I hate having to cover it, but we're going to keep covering this case. And so I want to thank you all so much for joining me tonight. To those of you who helped me pull information together for today, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And we'll come back and I'll give you updates, Discord, in person, okay, and lives, whatever we need to do. Because this can't keep happening. I can't get this little girl out of my head now. And awesome. I love each and every one of you. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I am going to go grab myself something to eat. I have not eaten all day. Actually, I just realized it's 6:15 and I have not eaten yet. And also, I'm going to go grab myself something to eat and also. But I love you guys tons and tons and tons. Aloha. Mahalo. For those of you who don't know what mahalo means, mahalo is thank you. Okay. And mahalo from the deepest part of my heart. Aloha, all of you guys, and I will. Yeah, are you going to say bye to everyone too? Is that what you're trying to? This one's barking, trying to say goodbye also. Love you guys. Hey, Cat Mama, how you doing? Say bye-bye, Cassie. Yes, say bye-bye. And let's hope we don't have another earthquake tonight. We don't need anything else like that. This was a rough one. But you know what? It was rougher for her. And you know what? We can deal with it. Because she had no choice. So, love you guys tons. I will talk to y'all later. Aloha. Mahalo. Bye. Bye, guys.